Yo, what's up guys? This is Midnight Wabbit, and I just really quickly wanted to apologize to you guys. I know I said this in my video yesterday, but I just wanted to apologize again for not uploading for like the past week or so. Like I said, if you guys did not catch my video yesterday, they did announce Ultimate Vault Hunter mode for Borderlands the pre-sequel. And they are raising the level cap, and if you guys want to know more about that, I'll leave a link to that down in the description. If you want to know more about that, I'll leave a link to that video. So I'm trying to get all of my level 50 character builds out by then. The only character I do not have at level 50 is Handsome Jack, so I'll be trying to do that this weekend. But for now, I'm just gonna try to show you guys. I have one build for all the characters except for Athena, which I have two. I've already showed you my first one. This is going to be my second Athena character build video thingy, whatever. Oh, sweet. Can I afford that? I can actually afford that. Do I have a bonus package? Well, this is the one where I only have like one grenade run. Oh, it's times 10. So usually it's times 8, I think. What the hell? I'll just buy it. Anyway, basically, this build is a little bit different, or actually it's a lot different. That's why I wanted to have two separate builds. All the other ones you can change the build slightly, but for the for the Gladiator, which is Athena, there's two completely different builds that I use for different things. One of them is that elemental build, which is, I call the elemental Empress build or whatever, but it really doesn't, you can call it whatever you want, but it does a ton of elemental damage. And so I soloed the raid boss, and had some footage of that in that video. I'll probably leave a link to that video down in the description as well. But yeah, this is the melee build, and a lot of people are kind of down on melee since they nerfed the roid shield. A lot of people kind of don't really want to use melee Athena anymore. They don't really think that she's that good. Melee Athena is actually still very, very good. Now, this is my level 50 shooting star. This shield used to have about 100,000 roid damage. Now it only has 7,600, and the shields really were overpowered before. The roid shields, the legendary roid shields, because I mean 100,000, you do so much more damage. Like, that's not the damage that you deal. That's what it says, and obviously the higher this damage the better, but that's not the damage that you're going to be outputting, especially not with this build. The way I'm going to show this to you guys are going to be outputting in the hundreds of thousands of damage for melee if you do this right. I think the highest I've gotten is like 620,000 melee hit, I think. Is the highest I've gotten on a standard enemy with this. But I mean, on average, you get like 100 to 300,000 melee damage per hit at level 50. So it's definitely be good for if you guys like being up the enemy's faces and stuff. I'm kind of going to ignore these two side skill trees, which are basically all we focused on in that last character build for Athena. Obviously, you have to do this. You're going to want to use gun kata. Not because of the gun damage increase, but because of the melee damage increase after shooting enemy. You can shoot an enemy once, and for a short time, your melee damage does 50%. Would you stay? Your melee damage does 50% more. It's 1.5 times melee damage for a short amount of time after shooting an enemy. This just outright increases your melee damage up to 25%. And obviously, class mods are going to boost this even further. But I mean, basically, it's obvious anything that increases melee damage, we're going to want to go for. I like using this because any enemy who has less than 50% of their max health remaining takes bonus damage, which means if you hit an enemy with a melee attack and they're like a badass enemy, or they're a strong enemy and they don't die, but they have even slightly less than 50% of their health remaining, then they will take bonus damage from your next melee attack if you want to hit them again. Now, if you're doing a melee build with Athena, this is always a very important skill. Melee attacks causing enemies to bleed is actually very, very good, because a lot of these skills are dependent on that. You can see for all this has to do with bleeding enemies, bleeding targets. Now, because it's a melee build, I do like using this. I know I'll get to this in a second. You may think it kind of cancels it out, but the way I do it doesn't really. I like having this because it pulls enemies closer to you in case your lunge thing is on cooldown. If Blood Rush is on cooldown, you won't lunge. You'll just have the same melee range as any other character. So this is nice if you want to just slam. You can pull the enemies closer to you and just deal damage to them instead of having to lunge at them individually. You can just pull them all close to you, just deal damage to them all really quickly. I like doing that, and I think this is a good skill to have because it seems to do nearby enemies do take quite a bit of damage from it, and it makes it seem way more awesome. I know that seems kind of stupid, but it really does make it seem more awesome. I don't really, the reload speed and fire rate I don't really find is that helpful. I've tried that. The gun damage, you can definitely go for that if you have some points left over. Definitely go for tear. The blood rush skill is probably the most important one in the skill tree. That and this, if you do nothing else, but because of the lunge. And if you remember Zero's, I forget what it's called, that lunge attack thing, it's the same as that from Borderlands 2, except the lunge on this the range is much further than it was for Zero. For Zero, it was like, what, 3 meters? I don't even know how long the range is for this, but it's much farther than that. And you can do this while you're in midair, stuff like that, and we'll get to why that makes that important in a second here. Now, what I like to do is, you kind of have to go through this to get down here. I like having for storm weaving, I like the increased elemental effect chance by switching weapons, because of the fact that I like using cryo weapons with this build, because obviously frozen enemies take even more damage, and it's easier to melee them because they're not trying to move around. So anything that I can do to get some cryo damage in on enemies is I like to have that as something, and I try to avoid anything. Athena has several abilities that regenerate shields, so I try to avoid those because if you're using a roid shield, which you're going to want to use with this build, you don't want the shield to regenerate while you're in the middle of battle, because then you lose that roid damage bonus. So I stick with that, and depending on how many points we have left over, I like to put a few points into this if I can. I want to have increased damage from this, and I like to have, in case you get into a tight situation where your health goes down or something like that, your health is low and your shield is recharging, so you've lost that damage bonus, or your lunge is on cooldown, you can always hide behind your shield. That's what it's there for, and increasing that time. You can throw it whenever you want, but it's always nice to have that option to have that there. And then, just because some of the class mods seem to boost it, I like to throw 1 point into this. Those last couple points, it's really just this standard skill tree right here that makes it important. The reason I said, like I said, I'd like to use storm weaving is because of the elemental effect chance. It literally just makes it doubles your elemental effect chance if you swap weapons for 9 seconds, and you can just swap weapons again. You can just keep that going for as long as you want. Now, in terms of gear that you guys are going to want, probably the most important thing, like I said, I call this my critical assassin build, and the reason for that is because of these type of Oz kits, the precision strike Oz kits. They increase your weapon accuracy, which is not really important while airborne. They also increase your critical hit damage while airborne, and that includes melee damage. Any melee critical hits, grenade critical hits, anything like that. Anything that's a critical hit. So I like to use the purple version of this because I can get up to 62% critical hit. I think I've seen 64 or 65% on some of them. This is probably the most underrated Oz kit in the game. It's like no red text or anything like that. You can get these from vending machines relatively often. I would just try to hold out for a blue or a purple version. At level 50, like I said, it's like 64 or 65%. And this one is a cryo version, so I can use that slam ability and then freeze them. Like I said before, I like to be able to freeze the enemies. I think that's definitely very helpful if you're trying to do a lot of damage while meleeing them. You're going to want to have a good roid shield. It does not have to be a legendary. I have the shooting star here. It does not have to be a legendary. I also have the avalanche here, which I actually prefer using the avalanche since the patch, mainly because this avalanche seems to have a higher roid damage than my shooting star, even though it's 2 levels lower, and the shooting star used to have a much higher roid damage. And I think it's still supposed to, but I'm not really sure. Grenade doesn't really matter. I like having the Excalibastard because of the critical hit damage. I'm not sure if that affects your melee damage while you're holding it or not, but it does have the plus 50% melee damage, and I think your melee attacks have a chance to freeze enemies. If you kill an enemy with a critical hit with this gun, it creates a cryo nova, freezing other nearby enemies, and it's cryo, so it has 100% accuracy which is really good for a railgun. It's a good all-around gun to have. I like to have that, and I like to have the Miss Moxie's probe, which you get by accepting a mission from Janie Springs in there called Torgo or something like that. And then the last thing you're going to want is a good class mod. Now you want to avoid the Celestial Gladiator one because, as you can see there, your shield begins to immediately recharge when you activate it, which I guess is good. You can use that, but you kind of you don't want your shield really to recharge. I would recommend anything that increases melee damage, like anything that actually has a stat that increases melee damage, like it says melee damage plus something. I'd recommend. Obviously, something like this is good because it increases your melee damage here by 55% as outright, as well as the 32% from that. Now, I like using this. I like using this one because it increases my melee damage by 41%, offers some skill bonuses there, but it also increases my critical hit damage, which is what I'm trying to do. Now, the way you're going to get the most of the critical hit damage is by using this. You can use this skill while in midair, and if you're in midair, you get the bonus critical hit damage from this. It's like almost 1.75 times extra critical hit damage as long as you're in midair. So you just have to like aim for the head, and it's a lot easier to get critical hits with melee than you would think. It's actually quite a bit easy. Like, you wouldn't think it would be that easy, but it's actually not that hard if you aim for the correct area. So I'm going to switch over real quick to some gameplay, some melee stuff. I'll show you with the shooting star and with the avalanche to see so you guys can get a feel of it. And I'll also show you guys when my shield is recharged as well, so you can see how much damage you do without the roid bonus. And it's still, it doesn't even have to be a legendary roid shield. It can just be, you kind of want to try to have a good roid shield. If it's like a blue or a purple, would be perfectly fine because of the damage multipliers you're going to be doing. Like I said, it has nothing to do with the damage listed on the item card. So let's switch over to some gameplay here real quick. Alright, now, so here's some gameplay of me using the probe, this weapon, the Moxie weapon that heals you. It doesn't always spawn with a knife on. I just this one time I spawned in. I was going to try to show you guys some gameplay, so I just spawned in. It's a mission item, so the parts are random every time you start the game. So this time I just happen to have a knife on it, which increases the melee damage slightly. But as you can see there, I mean, you can do some pretty good damage. If once your shield is depleted, if you have a good roid shield, you can do some pretty good damage with this setup. Some pretty good melee damage. You can do like in the hundreds of thousands of damage with this easily. I think the highest I've gotten, like I said earlier, is around 600,000. But I think if everything works out right, I mean, all the circumstances line up correctly, like you're airborne, you actually end up getting the critical hit, like you're airborne with that Oz kit, and you get the critical hit, your shield is depleted and everything like that, and like maybe if you shoot the enemy beforehand and you get that the bonus melee damage from that, if everything lines up perfectly, I could see you being able to get an over 1 million damage hit with this build. I could see that happening. I could see you being able to get 1 million damage with a hit if all the circumstances line up properly. I've never actually done that, but I can definitely see that happening. It's a lot easier to get those critical hits and stuff, like the critical hit damage while airborne in low gravity, because you're airborne for longer, and you can use your Oz kit to boost yourself, and then you do the lunge thing while you're in midair. So you can see right there. If you get a critical hit while you're actually airborne like that, like right now I'm not really getting critical hits, but if you get a critical hit when you're airborne like that, then it does almost more than 1.5 times bonus damage. You can see there's a critical hit, and there's a critical hit right there. That wasn't even with the airborne or anything like that. And you can see when they're frozen, it does a dramatically increased amount of damage. This is why I think if you don't have cryo of anything else, I think the most important thing to have cryo of is your Oz kit. You can see right there I froze him, and that wasn't even a critical hit. I got 217,000. That was just a regular hit, and that was not even a critical hit that I got on him. So it's definitely, and you can see right here I get like, what, 587,000. That one was a critical hit. I was airborne and he was frozen, so I timed that pretty well, I think. But you can get some, like I said, you pull them closer to you with the singularity thing, the epicenter skill or whatever that creates a singularity around you. This is a very good melee build. This is definitely the best. This is inarguably the best melee build in the game. I don't know if there are any other good melee characters in this game, but this is definitely the build I like to use. And I like to use a lot of the elemental effect, the increased chances and stuff. Like I said, you can see right there, that's a critical hit. That's with my shield charge. Like, I didn't have the roid shield, the roid damage bonus with that. I still got almost 90,000 damage, even without the shield depleted. So, I mean, Athena does some spectacular amounts of melee damage, even if the shield is not depleted. Even if your shield is full, you can still do quite a bit of melee damage with Athena. But anyway, hopefully you guys did enjoy this video, and hopefully you guys found this helpful, and hopefully this will help you guys gear up for Ultimate Vault Hunter mode coming next week. And leave a like if you enjoyed. Leave me a comment. Let me know what character you want to see my endgame skill tree build for next.
try to getting all these out by the end of next week, or by the beginning of next week, so that way I can have, you guys can have a good basis, like some good builds to start off in Ultimate Vault Hunter mode, so you can start off strong. Yeah, that's basically it. Leave a like and subscribe for more Borderlands content coming soon. I'm definitely going to be doing some Destiny other stuff a little bit later, like within the next month or so. Some other games as well, but for right now, since the Ultimate Vault Hunter thing is coming out in about a week, I'm going to try to focus on getting these builds out for you guys, and then I'm also going to have, probably on Thursday or Friday, a new episode of my Legendary Weapons Guide up for you guys. It'll be my first Legendary Sniper Rifle, so definitely stay tuned for that, and I will talk to you guys later. Peace.